Now to Minneapolis, where tensions are rising after a federal ICE agent shot and killed a woman there. We want to take a live look at one of the protests happening right now in that city. The FBI is taking over the investigation, forcing local officials off of that case. Our investigator, Tara Molina, is tracking this story for us. And Tara, there's been some pushback on the feds taking over.
Yeah, that's right, Marie. Exactly what we heard from Governor Tim Walz this afternoon. Meanwhile, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is saying we could see more immigration authorities in Minneapolis. We want to warn you, the video of this shooting is graphic.
Quit your job!
Protests continue in Minneapolis following the deadly shooting Wednesday. 37-year-old Renee Good shot and killed by an ICE agent. The FBI announcing it's taking over the investigation today. Take a look at your screen and you'll see what they're investigating. You can see Good backing up in her car. An agent tries to open the driver's side door. As she begins to pull away, a different officer draws his gun and fires deadly shots. The Trump administration placing the blame on her. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem claiming Good had been stalking ICE agents all day.
This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen in these use of force cases.
Governor Tim Walz calling for the state to be part of the investigation.
I will continue to press that we be part of the investigation, that we do the investigation, so that Minnesotans can trust what the outcome is. I don't have a predetermined notion. Yes, I saw the video. Yes, I saw that. But a thorough investigation will see what happened before that.
Here's Vice President J.D. Vance responding this afternoon.
The idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity, I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge.
All of this as tensions flare.
There's another clash.
And local leaders call for ICE to leave the state.
ICE go home!
CBS News has confirmed Renee Good was a U.S. citizen and was never a target for arrest by ICE agents, with Minneapolis leaders calling her a good legal observer of federal actions. She was a mother of 3 who had just moved to Minnesota with her son and her wife. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Tara Molina, CBS News Chicago Investigators.
Tara, thank you so much. Now to this development. Illinois Representative Robin Kelly says she will file articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
I'm not sure if it will have enough support, but that doesn't mean we don't take action. We just can't sit back. We just can't sit on the sidelines.
Kelly says Noem has turned ICE into a, quote, rogue force. The articles claim the HHS secretary willfully obstructed congressional oversight, compromised the due process of U.S. citizens, and abused her office for personal benefits. Now I want to bring in our legal expert, Irv Miller, to talk about so much of this. First, Irv, I know Noem said that agents, her words, were attacked, calling this an act of domestic terrorism. So walk us through what would constitute domestic terrorism, taking what we know about the circumstances of this case.
You know, domestic terrorism is when someone commits a criminal act for the purpose of influencing or somehow coercing the general population or to get a change in governmental policy.
Okay.
If you take those words and you apply it to this case, I don't see under any interpretation that you'd call it an act of domestic terrorism.
And part of that, I would think, has to do with the placement of the car, where it's moving, what the officers are doing. That would play a role here.
That would play a role, but also the bigger part of that is the actual criminal investigation being done by the FBI, and whether or not a prosecutor will approve any charge whatsoever. So if I could show you how the thinking that I would anticipate if I was still head of the Cook County Felony Review Unit, which has to decide whether or not somebody should be charged with a crime, I would ask some questions. And the first question that I would want the FBI to answer is whether or not they've come up with a frame-by-frame picture,
analysis,
not just slow motion. And that frame by frame should show if there's a car, to use my phone. And the officer is here, and the car is facing the officer, and that's when the trigger's pulled, that's self-defense.
I see.
However, if the frame by frame shows that the officer, when he pulled the trigger, was here, but the car was angling to the right, that's a crime.
I know they will be taking that all into consideration. And when we talk about who is making this decision, we've got the feds involved now, but could this be a thing that the state charges criminally if questions still remain about how the federal government's going to act?
You remember what happened down in Atlanta when the president's chief of staff, Meadows, was charged on a state criminal violation, and the first thing that he did was go to federal court and say, hey, listen, the state can't prosecute me because I was acting in my role as a federal officer, and therefore the case should be moved from state court to federal court. Same thing here.
I see.
These officers, if anybody's charged, will say, hey, listen, I was a federal officer acting in my official roles as a federal officer, and the federal statute authorizes a judge to say to the state, sorry, you can't have it, it's going to federal court. And the U.S. Attorney's Office would then prosecute the case, and if there's a federal conviction, guess who could issue a pardon?
Right. It goes up the chain.
Up the chain.
I also want to ask you, Irv, before I let you go, about the case here in Chicago about federal agents using tear gas and that use of force. What's the update? I understand there was a big headline from it today.
There was a headline today, but it's not the headline everybody thought. Today the judge was supposed to decide whether or not the victims of that case, of the tear gassing, could decide to drop the case, because they had a defeat in the Seventh Circuit, and they figured going ahead any further wouldn't help anybody.
Okay.
So the issue was whether or not the case would be dismissed with prejudice. The judge said she needed 2 more weeks to think about it. So nothing happened really in federal court today.
So we're on hold for another 2 weeks.
We're on hold again.
All right, and then I'm sure we'll have you back to talk about that.
Sounds good.
Irv, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate your insights.